Hey, what's up? Long time no see. I actually have the coffee today, guys. What? Every time I film an episode of Coffee with Chloe, I just happen to forget the coffee part. So today I thought I would actually drink a cup of coffee because coffee's in the title, you know? So we're drinking some coffee. Anyways, let's get into it. Let's get to the reason why we're here. Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Chloe, and welcome to my channel, A Chloe Chisholm Vision. I am so happy you are here today watching this video and being a part of this community of creative, wonderful, curious, interesting people. Yep, that's what I just said. Let's rewind a little bit because I know I have not uploaded a Coffee with Chloe episode in quite some time, but I am truly so excited for today's guest and for the guests that are coming up in the next few weeks. I have a really cool lineup of people and I'm super excited to share those episodes with you in the next coming weeks. But let's stick with today's guest. Today I am chatting with Lauren Rowe Photography. Lauren is a photographer located in Boston, Massachusetts. She does a lot of weddings, portraits, fitness photography, a whole bunch of stuff that we talk about today. I met Lauren back when the world was normal. I met Lauren back in the fall of 2019, and that was during the CrossFit Open. I interned for Invictus Boston, and while I was in school during the CrossFit Open on Friday nights, I would go to Invictus Boston to help capture the moments of the Open at Invictus Boston, and that is how I met Lauren. She was also there one night during Friday Night Lights to photograph athletes working out and completing the Open. I had seen her before at another CrossFit competition when she was photographing the Southeast Showdown 2019. I was also there just for myself to build my portfolio and photograph athletes and create a short film of the competition, which is uploaded to YouTube. That was when I first saw her, was during the Southeast Showdown. And then I met her at Invictus Boston during the CrossFit Open a month or two later. That is how I met her, and I knew right away while I started making these Coffee with Chloe episodes and talking with different artists, I knew that I wanted to talk to Lauren as well. She is such a cool person and really inspiring. We talk about her story, how she found photography, how she became interested in photography and in fitness photography specifically. We chat about her work and her style and how she developed her style. She's been to Wadapalooza and she's photographed so many athletes, and her Instagram is filled with beautiful pictures. So you should totally check her out on Instagram. Her Instagram is at lauren.shoots. I will put that in the description box below so you can check out her Instagram, and her website is linked in her bio so you can check out a full portfolio. I want to get right into our conversation so you can hear everything she has to say. She's super inspiring, super incredible, and she's also a nurse, so she is on the front line of this coronavirus. I want to stop talking so you can hear Lauren speak, so I'm going to stop and get right into the interview. Without further ado, Lauren Rowe Photography. Hey.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
I can just turn this up a little bit. Sorry. Oh my gosh, I have not seen you since life or the world was normal.
I know. I've been super busy. I work at the hospital,
Yeah,
so
my
that's
gosh.
been an interesting endeavor, to be honest.
Yeah, my God. Do you work all day or do you work nights or pretty
I
much?
was working random shifts
Yeah.
up to about 3 weeks ago, and now I'm back on like a normal day shift.
Yeah. Which hospital do you work at?
Beth Israel.
Oh, wow. Oh my
So like right
gosh.
around the corner from Fenway.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. My God. Well, thank you for
Oh,
what you do.
you're welcome. I'm getting paid, so,
Yeah, and thank you for doing this.
of
I've
course.
just been just talking to different photographers or artists that I know, and just discussing like their story, how they got into photography or whatever craft that they do, and just hearing about their story and then sharing the video on my YouTube channel for others, just to keep the creative inspiration going
That
during
sounds
this time.
great. Yeah,
Yeah, so thank you for being
of
involved in
course.
this project. Yeah. So I have like just a few questions to ask you, and then my last question is about your editing style or your photography style. So we'll look at a few. I pulled a few pictures from your Instagram up, just about like five or so to look at while you kind of describe your style and how you developed and stuff. So that's kind of just the way it'll go. It'll probably take like 15, 20 minutes tops. So yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So first, can you just say your name and then what you do for a living?
Okay, so my name is Lauren Rosenfeld. I'm a full-time speech language pathologist. I work at Beth Israel, but I take pictures on the side.
Awesome. Really cool. So when and how did you become interested in photography?
I was always interested in photography, but there was never really any art outlet for me in high school, so it was never really an option to kind of use it as an interest. So I did the traditional route of college and grad school, and once I was in grad school, I found CrossFit, and once I started
Mhm.
CrossFit, I found that some of the gyms needed photographers to take pictures.
Mhm.
So I noticed that there was a bit of a need there, and I had always liked taking pictures, so I just got an entry-level camera and offered my services. And so that was kind of how I got my foot in the door and even figuring out what being a photographer meant and what you had to do.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Awesome. That's a good lead into the next question, which is how you became interested in fitness photography. So that was
Yeah,
through doing CrossFit.
right. So my first real, I guess, photography type exposure was with fitness photography. So
Hmm.
um, other things came later.
Hmm.
But my first foray into the photographer realm was with fitness photography. So it was at my first CrossFit gym in Baltimore,
Hmm.
CrossFit Federal Hill. They gave me my shot as a photographer, and they were wonderful and put all my pictures up, even though now I look back and I cringe at them.
I do that too.
Yeah, it's hard to look back, but it's good to see how
Yeah.
far you've come.
Yeah. So how long ago was that?
Um, Maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. Oh,
3 years, 3 or
cool.
4 years.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, perfect. Okay, cool. So okay, two questions to this part. So why do you love photography? And then which part do you like better? I always like asking photographers this question. Do you like taking the pictures or editing better?
Yeah. Um, so why do I love photography is the first one, right?
Hmm.
I really like the emotion that you can capture.
Yeah.
Some of the best photographers out there, even if it's just a picture of a face or a scene or a scenery, I mean, it can evoke such emotion. So
Yeah.
I really like the fact that, while it's just a split second in time, I mean, the emotion that's being captured is can be transcendent, right?
Yeah.
And I especially love that with fitness photography because you get to
Yeah.
see, everyone's effort and kind of pain faces, but also like everyone that does CrossFit and looks at your pictures, like knows exactly what that feels like and kind of can really like relate to that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's what I really like about photography in general. It kind of it's a small thing, but
Hmm.
it's a everyone can relate to a picture.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, and what I like most about photography is I actually like the editing the best.
Yeah.
I like editing a lot. I can spend hours editing, and then re-editing and editing again the same picture.
Yeah.
I don't mind the setup. Of course, when you set up, editing is a lot easier if you have the right setup.
Hmm.
But I find that I get a lot of joy just from sitting down and editing for a really long time.
Yeah, same, 100%. Just can like be in my pajamas with a cup of coffee editing all day long.
Yeah,
I'm totally good with that.
hours. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah. Awesome. And then, so when did you decide that you wanted to pursue photography on the side? Like, was it you just kind of got into it, or did you make a decision like, oh, I want to start doing this, to earn money?
Yeah. Um, you know, People kept telling me that I was decent and they
Yeah.
were asking me to take pictures for them. And they were asking me, oh, how much do you charge? And I was like, well, I don't really charge anything because that's just what it's just a hobby. But they got me thinking like, okay, like if I'm going to consistently get people asking me to do things for them, maybe I should figure out what this really means in terms of a side gig. So I kind of, at the behest of others, I started to kind of figure out what that looks like for me. And honestly, this is not my main source of income. I purely do it because I really like to. And my pricing is what it is. I'm not the most expensive out there. I'm not the least expensive out there. But it's something that I pretty much do when I can and for the right people that want to work with me. But I don't necessarily make my living off of it, but I really like it a lot.
Yeah, awesome. I feel like a lot of photographers are like that. And I also think that where it's a side job, and I also feel like that kind of keeps it more enjoyable. Like if you're not doing something 100% of the time, I find like for me personally, if I'm doing this one thing all the time, the joy will kind of, go away, or you'll get sick of it. Whereas when you do something more, on the side, that joy stays with you,
Yeah, it's still special when it's not something you have to do for a job.
Yes.
That being said, like weddings are still very intimidating. I don't really love looking forward to shooting weddings because it's just such a huge amount of time, and like all the editing can be really crazy. But I mean, it's still special. It's still really fun. It's just different.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen with you so we can look at a few of your photos and then describe your photography style. 1 second. All right. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I love this photo.
Oh, thank you.
It's so cool. So how would you describe your photography style? And you can, if there's 2 different ways you want to describe it versus like fitness photography and then portraits and weddings, that's totally cool. I kind of have half and half here. The first few are fitness.
So my fitness style, I guess, and maybe translates into other photography or my other photos as well. Gyms are inherently very dark. It's really, really, really hard to find a well-lit picture in a gym because I don't have lighting equipment. It's all natural photography. So a lot of times I'm editing and learning how to edit in really dark places. So I kind of embrace that my photos are going to be darker, and I kind of have leaned into that as part of my editing style instead of fighting against it. Because if you fight against it, if you up the ISO, everything's going to look really weird. So I've just leaned into the darkness that is the gym, and have just my editing style kind of is always really dark, shadows, dark, deep contrast. Colors are usually, more of the primary versus the pastels. And that's kind of how I like shadows. I don't mind shadows. I like dark photos.
Yeah. And it definitely, I find that the dark and the shadows really makes the person's like muscles pop more.
Yeah. There's a lot of contrast there. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. And here's some portraits.
Yeah. So the portraits, those have been really difficult for me and challenging because it's just a completely different way to photograph. I'm completely self-taught. I've never taken a class. So it's taken me a long time to figure out like, when you up your shutter speed and, what does that look like on camera? But for the portraits, I have, again, you see that the pigments are really deep. The contrast is really deep as well. I like really saturated photos. And again, that one in particular, there's a lot of shadow. So I still try and use like dark shadow and like contrast in a lot of my portrait. But I mean, when you're doing portrait, the face doesn't really lend itself to a whole lot of shadow. I mean, you don't want to make the person look really old. So it's kind of finding that balance, and also just getting better at editing,
Yeah.
But those are things I like stick to when I'm editing. What looks good to me personally when I'm doing that.
Definitely. And I also feel like, when you were describing that you're self-taught, I'm always a very hands-on learner where for photography specifically, even though my dad's a photographer, I just had to learn on my own and just start taking pictures and not knowing what the settings would do and just figuring it out. I feel like that's my favorite way to learn. I find that a lot of people are that way, especially artists.
Right. the learning curve has been steep, but I mean,
Mhm.
it's been fun. That's why you look back at your really old pictures and you're like, Jesus.
Yes.
And and then everything you pick up along the way, like every other new picture, like a tip from a friend, or you try and mimic someone else's style for a second to see how do they do that? How do they make their picture look
Yeah,
like that? It kind of all then tumbles, into your own style at some point.
definitely. And just out of curiosity, was this your first time going to Wadapalooza?
It was, yeah.
Wow. How was
Yeah.
that?
It was
That's
really
so
fun.
cool.
Brandon Wee
Hmm.
is a very good friend, and let me sit with him while in the media booth to take these pictures. I had rented a long lens, and
Yeah,
it was super fun. So I wasn't there on behalf of anyone. I was there just for my own.
yeah.
I was there taking pictures of Andy Vanez and his
Hmm.
team for One
Hmm.
Nation, but I wasn't there taking pictures of athletes per se, but it was still an amazing experience. I'd never done night shooting before.
Yeah,
And it can be, again, very tricky, a different kind of learning curve. Wadapalooza is very well lit though, which is
yeah,
great. But I was very far away. So the
yeah.
lens I had was great, but it was really fun, and I would love to go back and do it again.
That's so cool. Oh my gosh. I know I love the lighting on the Wadapalooza
Yeah, the
photos.
lighting, like, I mean, all, if you click on that one, like, that was all
Yeah.
purple lighting from that. I mean, it all, and the
Wow.
background was some of the back, like the skyscrapers in the back looked like stars.
Yeah,
So yeah, they have really great lighting.
that's so cool. Wow. I love your photos. They're
Thank you.
beautiful.
I really appreciate that. Thank
Of
you.
course. Yeah. And I love how I noticed a lot on the photos, either if they're fitness or portrait, especially this one, just your framing where I like how when there's like things on the side of the lens, that just makes it the person in the middle kind of pop. And that especially happens with the Wadapalooza. Even
Yeah,
with like people showing up, I feel like it adds a lot more to the
right.
photo. I
I
just
appreciate,
really
yeah,
like
thank
that.
you. Yeah, I like to, I personally, like, if you click on Jessica Griffith again, that one there,
This one.
yeah, those are two people's heads that she's in between, and it just looks
Yeah.
like, I mean, I got lucky, but I mean, also I'm
Yeah.
sitting so far back in the stands that like this was going to happen regardless.
Yeah.
But I do personally like that kind of like creeping around the corner look,
Yeah,
versus like a straight
definitely.
on shot. I do like having things like quote unquote in the way.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's so cool. Awesome. Okay, cool. And my last question for you, how have you grown since first starting photography?
Oh, I think my confidence in certain situations has
Hmm.
grown since starting photography. I mean, when you
Yeah,
first start, I mean, again, since you and I are both very much self-taught, I really didn't know what I
yeah,
was doing. And so, through practice and through exposure and through
yeah,
just photographing and getting things wrong and getting things right,
yeah,
you kind of learn different lighting situations and like
yeah.
how to set things up. I think lighting can be really difficult. I don't use, I guess would be like flashes. I don't use
Yeah.
extra light. I
Hmm.
try to use natural light.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think that once you kind of have an understanding of lighting, I think that's mostly where I've grown as a photographer.
Hmm.
Um, but
Yeah.
also I think shooting in a gym has really helped me because I mean that's the hardest place you're going to shoot is when there's
Yeah.
no light available.
Yeah.
So I do think that just getting out there and feeling confident and kind of knowing that the pictures are going to be okay,
Yeah.
regardless of what happens, I can deliver.
Hmm.
That's kind of how I've grown a bit because before you kind of just you
Yeah.
just don't really have a lot of confidence in yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
then, so what's your Instagram? I mean, I know it, but just to say it for
Yeah.
people to find you.
It's Lauren.shoots
Mhm.
on Instagram.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today. I love hearing everyone's story. It inspires me so much. So thank you.
Of course. Thank you for inviting me. This was
Yeah,
great.
of course. Yeah. All right. Well, have a wonderful rest of your night and week. And yeah, thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thanks, Chloe.
Bye.
Bye.
Isn't she so inspiring? I love Lauren's story, and hearing her story and how she got into photography was very inspiring to me. I found a lot of similarities through her story and mine with the fitness photography part, so that was really cool to hear. It is simply so cool and inspiring and rewarding to hear someone else's story of how they got into their craft and what inspires them about their craft and what their goals are moving forward. It really fills me up and inspires me to continue to create and continue to do what I love. So thank you to all the guests on this show so far, and thank you to Lauren. It was so awesome talking with you today. Make sure you follow Lauren on Instagram. Her Instagram is @lauren.shoots. I will put that in the description box below so you can check out her Instagram. And like I said earlier, her website is linked in the bio, in her Instagram bio, so check that out so you can see a full portfolio. And follow me on Instagram as well. My Instagram handle has changed, which I mentioned in the video that I uploaded last week. My new Instagram handle is @ChloeMCVision. And that is it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Lauren for talking with me today, and I am looking forward to our next guest on the Coffee with Chloe show. Have a great day, guys, and I will see you next time. Happy creating. My phone just fell right. Oh my god, I just hit my phone when I was about to wave. Anyways, happy creating, guys. See you later.